Blaine Kaltman is an award-winning guitarist who has been featured in Guitar World magazine. He is the lead rapper, songwriter and multi-instrumentalist for the group Chainbridge, a critically acclaimed hip-hop group. And he's got a new solo project with Singaporean rapper 21 Soul Blaze. And he's here with us now. Hello.
Hi, Toby. Thanks for having me.
Well, it's a pleasure to have you on the show. First of all, how are you doing today?
Not bad. You're going to ask me about COVID in the U.S., aren't you?
Probably. Have you listened to some of my interviews before?
I have. And the funny thing is I hear so many different answers, and I was thinking, well, how will I answer that? How is COVID going here? And I think the answer is badly. I think,
yeah.
The kids aren't in school where, everyone's becoming weird and freakishly antisocial. We don't hang out with friends as much. I would say bad.
Yeah, I think ours was going good until about a couple of weeks ago, and now we're starting to put more restrictions in. A lot of the pubs and restaurants are closing again, and the schools have reopened now, and I think shutting them again is kind of the last thing they want to do, because I think that's the biggest disruption you can have, isn't it?
Of course, yeah. The parents have to stay home with the kids. The kids don't get a chance to hang out. They're not learning much. Yeah, it's tough. But I'm sure you have more interesting things to talk to me about than COVID.
Okay. Anyway, you've just started this collaboration with 21 Soul Blaze. What exactly would you describe that album as?
Right now we've only got 3 songs. It's an EP, but we're working to get an album. We've got a little interest from Def Jam, so we're excited about that. I don't know. It's hip hop. It's poppy. Just more modern stuff. Obviously less guitar oriented than the other stuff I've done, but I'll still throw a couple licks in there.
And he is an MTV charting artist, right?
He is, yeah. He's been on Malaysian MTV, and he even charted on the Billboard hip hop charts in the U.S. But it's been about 7 years, maybe even longer, 10 years since he's done that. So I'm just honored to be part of his comeback. And
what's it like working with someone that has such a big acclaim to them?
Well, he's a really nice guy, a humble guy. He's a good friend. It's just like working with anybody, I suppose. But he's really talented, and I feel pushed by him. I'll send him my verse, he'll send back a verse, and I'm like, oh man, I need to step it up. And then I go redo my verse because I feel, the difference. I guess it's healthy competition. But he's a fantastic rapper, and it's awesome working with him.
Have you been working apart, or have you met up in the same studio somewhere?
I haven't seen him in probably 12 years, since I was in Singapore. We filmed a movie many years ago called Back Alley Bulls, which never got distribution and, just didn't really come out. But we were both actors in that movie. And so I knew him from that. I knew that he rapped back then. I mean, one of the reasons we wanted him in the movie was because, he'd been on MTV. We thought that would help push the movie out.
Yeah.
So I haven't seen him in forever, but, we Skype, we record, I'll send it to him. We both got similar programs on our computer. We both can use Pro Tools and GarageBand and Logic and stuff. So.
And how long does that process take to write a song with him? Is it pretty quick, or does that competition kind of make it go back and forth forever?
Yeah, I wouldn't say forever, but I don't know. It takes a little bit. Yeah, it could be one of the reasons we only have 3 songs and we're going slowly. I would say it takes at least, 3-4 weeks for a song to kind of get developed and go back and forth, before we're even ready to mix it. So yeah, it slows things down.
But it's better to have 3 really good songs than 20 terrible ones, though, isn't it? So it's good that you're spending time on it.
I agree with that. I think a lot of, unsigned musicians, they just are churning out everything, thinking everything they do is brilliant. And we do really want to make sure if we put something out, it's going to sound good.
How do you get into the mindset of writing? Do you do any particular things to help you focus, or is it just once you get into the studio, that's you?
Well, there's the usual array of intoxicants, wine, beer, all that helps. But no, I mean, I'm always writing. There's always inspiration, drawn from whatever happened that day or what you heard on the news or just however you're feeling. So I'm always jotting down lyrics. I'm always hearing new things in my head.
It's a hip hop type album, right?
Correct.
So do you do other genres as well? Because you are a guitarist. Have you played any kind of rock tunes, or do you like to stick with that hip hop style?
No, I actually, rock was my first love. I mean, hip hop came later. I play in Stone Mob. I don't know if you've ever heard of them, but it's a rock band. I mean, yeah, if you Google us, there's some press. Haven't been working as hard on it because I don't feel rock and roll is as marketable in this day and age, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But Stone Mob's kind of like a Van Halen, AC/DC. It's like a straight sort of hard rock band.
And musical influence-wise, is there anyone who's inspired you to pick up that guitar, or even on the hip-hop scene?
Yeah, I would say when it comes to guitar, definitely Van Halen, and I was devastated to hear about his passing. Very sad. I mean, he really was a legend. He really revolutionized guitar, and he was the reason I wanted to play. And I believe me, I learned all his licks when I was a kid. So, but not as well as him, but but I learned them.
And you're not the first person to say Van Halen as an influence, because I was interviewing someone the other night who said Van Halen was an influence, and then it was later that night that it was announced that he'd passed away, and that was kind of quite shocking, just talking about him.
And he was so young. I mean, 65, but, I mean, sometimes the flames that burn the brightest burn the fastest, go out the quickest.
Yeah, it's always the best people that die so young, and all these idiots live into 120. It's not fair.
I agree. I remember Dennis Leary making a joke about that. He goes, Jim Morrison, Janis Joplin, they all die when they're 27. He goes, you put Motley Crue in a room with 500 kilos of heroin and they'll live.
Exactly. Did you have anyone growing up as well that kind of pushed you? Maybe they weren't even musical, but saw that gift in you and encouraged you to go for it?
Oddly, no. I mean, my parents, God bless them, they certainly got me into music. I mean, my mom definitely played piano when I was a kid, had us take piano lessons, they were supportive, but I think my parents were a little concerned if I went the rock and roll route, all the bad things that could come with that, drugs and this and that, and not to mention just starving artists.
Yeah, I think a lot of parents are quite concerned about, it's not a proper career, but you always hear about the famous artist like John Lennon. I think his aunt said that or something, and then years later he bought her a gift that said the quote that she said to him about it being a terrible career. Right.
Who's laughing now?
Yeah.
But no, my parents are definitely encouraging. I mean, they like that I play guitar and it gives me pleasure. I think naturally, like any parents, they're concerned with where that could lead. But they've even come to a couple of my shows. So, they wear earplugs and stand in the back, but it's still, how rock and roll is that, having mom and dad in the audience?
Speaking of having mum and dad in the audience, are there any highlights, big gigs you've played that you think really stand out to you, or even if someone's noticed you that you look up to?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I had Steve Vai like one of my articles in Guitar World, which was huge for me because he was one of my heroes, guitar heroes growing up, second to Van Halen. It would have been him. So that was huge, like a nice little shout out. Of course, I had written an article talking about his style, but still. And then, as far as gigs go, Chainbridge has only played one show because then COVID happened and it couldn't. But the show that we played, we had, I'd say about 100 people in the audience, and they went nuts for it. Like the crowd was really moving. It was, it gave us energy on stage to see the crowd responding better than we expected. So that was quite exciting. Yeah.
And when COVID is over, do you think you'll be getting out there and playing more gigs?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And we really want to, especially because we are very much chamber. Now, with 21 Soul Blaze, that's a different story because he's in Singapore, I'm here. So for us to perform together, that might take some time. But with Chainbridge, we're ready to go. And it's the live show is big because we get a lot of people on stage. There's several rappers, live instruments, and it's exciting.
During the whole pandemic, a lot of artists have been doing online streams and stuff. Have you been putting yourself forward for any of that, or have you just kind of been focusing on writing?
Yeah, focusing on writing and recording. The online stream things. If this goes on much longer, we're not gonna have a choice. We'll have to do some stuff like that. But
you have to do something.
There's just nothing can compare to the live show. You got that energy, all those people together enjoying the same thing. It's different. So we
definitely. Some of your licks have been taught in guitar magazines and on YouTube. How does that make you feel?
Humbled, awesome. It's the joke which I made with my brothers when I was a kid. I'd pick up the guitar and be like, check it out, I'm freaking Van Halen. I'd start playing something cool, and he's like, maybe there's some kids out there saying, check it out, I'm freaking Blaine Kaltman. I'm playing here, so of course,
maybe.
Yeah, it's flattering, and sometimes I'll hear one guy taught one of my licks, and I was like, he plays it better than I do. So,
what do you think makes your licks different from people like Van Halen?
I try to go, I do a lot of octave changes where I'll have a very high note to a very low note to a very high note. I try to really use a big expanse of the neck. But innovation, I do a lot of the same stuff he does, the tapping and the fast picking and all. And, I obviously Jimi Hendrix was a big influence too on me. And, I guess we all just take from the guitarists before us and try and make it our own.
That room that you're in now, is that where you record your music? Because I see there's a guitar and an amp. Is that where all the magic happens?
It is. If I turn you this way, you can see I've got the microphone. I got I've got. So yeah, it's where some of the magic happens. With Chain Bridge, all our stuff we've actually recorded in professional studios like Blue Room and Red Room, but with Soul Blaze, everything we're doing online. Although frankly, we can pretty much get the same quality. It's incredible that the home studio technology has gotten so good. You can make radio-ready music.
Exactly. I think because of this pandemic, a lot of companies are going to realise, why are we paying so much on heating and rent for these buildings when everyone can just work from home? Correct. Yeah, I think so. It's definitely coming. Yes, exactly. Do you think that you and 21 Soul Blaze will add more songs to the album, or do you think that's you done for just now? Well, usually when you're shopping around an EP, it's 4 songs. So we definitely need at least one more. And then after that, if we get the go-ahead, if we could get distribution, and Soul Blaze seems to feel he's secured that, at least Asian distribution of our music. If we do that, then, we'll have to pile on another 6 or 6, make it an album. Well, hopefully you'll come up with another great song. Outside of music, what do you like to get up to? Or would you consider music to just kind of be your life? It's definitely a dominating force. I mean, I'll admit, it's what I'm doing at 2 a.m. It's what I'm doing when I wake up. I wish I could sometimes turn it off in my head. But no, I work out, I play badminton, I teach high school. I teach high school sociology and government. So that's my day job. Oh, nice. So, and I got to tell you, the kids are fans of my music, which is pretty cool. That is pretty cool. I didn't tell them about, some of the kids Googled me, just seeing who their teacher was. They were like, Dr. Kaltman, they're all now listening to my music. I'm like, please don't tell your parents, because, we don't always watch our language and our lyrics. And well, one day those kids will be like, Blaine Kaltman was my teacher, and it'll be incredible. I hope so. I hope so. Regardless of whether we become rich and famous or not, I certainly hope one day they say that. Yes. And a question for all the music nerds. What type of guitars and amps and technology do you use to make your music? So for the guitars, I've got a couple of Ernie balls, which are, sort of high end, kind of like Stratocasters. I've got a Les Paul. I have an Ibanez, and I use a Bedrock. It's an amp from the 1990s. It's got tubes in it, so it gives a real big sort of 1960s kind of distortion sound. Yeah. And that's the basic technology. I keep it pretty simple. I mean, recording, obviously there's, plugins and stuff that give it different sounds, but for the live show,
keep it pretty straight.
Yeah, I think simple is sometimes best, because if you have a really complicated setup and something goes wrong, it'll probably take you ages to figure out what it is.
Yeah, it definitely would. Yeah, and plus I just don't like carrying all that equipment.
Definitely. It's just, and money as well, there is that.
Of course. Yeah.
Where can we listen to all your music with 21, Soul Blaze, and everyone else too?
Right now, not so. Shane Bridge, you can look it up on SoundCloud. 21 Soul Blaze, like I said, we haven't released anything yet. So publicly, I mean, this really is my first interview or anything talking about it.
Exclusive, guys.
It is. It's exclusive to you. But we're working on that. It'll come out soon enough. Then we'll put the word out. But for now, I mean, you can always follow us on Instagram at I'm BK_Blaine, and Soul Blaze is 21_Soul Blaze.
Well, great. Thank you very much for joining us today, Blaine Kaltman.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been a pleasure.